Well, hello, Flosstube. This is Doris, and I'm also known as Windy Bay Stitches on Instagram. And today is September 16th, and I am attempting to film my 11th Flosstube video. It actually kind of feels like my first video because it has been at least 3 months, and actually YouTube is telling me it's been 4 months since I last filmed a video and shared it with you guys. So I guess I've just taken a pretty substantial break. And everything's been good here. No real reason for taking such a long break. Just been having a very active and fun summer, and been doing a little bit of traveling and lots of things outdoors, and just kind of spreading my energy into other areas. Although I have been stitching quite a bit, so with it having been so long, I have quite a bit to share today. So I'm going to jump right into that. But first, if you are stopping by for the first time, welcome and thank you for watching. And for folks that subscribed and have been waiting a long time, thanks for hanging in there. So I think I'll just jump in and start showing you things. I'll pick up from where I left off last time, and as I go along, I'll kind of share some life updates and what's been going on the last 4 months. So one of the last things I had showed that I was working on were Prairie Schooler Santas, and I did finish the 1990 Santa, which I'd started in my last video. So here's Santa, all finished. I like this one a lot. I like the little woodland animals. And so that's 3 now on the same piece of fabric. I'm going to put at least 1 more on that piece, maybe 2 more. And I picked out the next one, though I haven't actually started because I had so many other things I wanted to work on. Next I'm doing 1992, which I like a lot because it has the lobster in his bag. Alright, so there's that. I'm also going to show you this older finish. I showed you the finished stitching before. I did FFO it, so I'll show you what it looks like fully finished. It's sort of a tall, thin one. This is an older sampler. It was a Better Homes pattern, and it's finished on 2 layers. It's actually laced and has magnets behind it, and it has just a little flower just tucked in at the top. Let me hold it up a little closer to show the stitching. There goes the flower. Nothing's glued in on this one. I laced it and used washers and magnets to attach it to this larger board, and this, I think it's just foam core, and it's covered with a green fabric. So I wasn't sure long term if I possibly wanted to put it in a real frame, but this was a good way to just get it laced and then get it up on the wall for now. So that's that one. Oh, I also have my Stitch Mania update. So in my last video I mentioned I was toying with the idea of doing a small Stitch Mania. I always thought Stitch Mania was something I would never do because I don't like having too many unfinished projects. I really like to finish things as I go. Although that's been changing, as you'll see. But I had mentioned I was thinking about doing this Pokemon ABC pattern, and I did do it, and I stuck with it throughout the month, and I finished all of them. So they are pretty cute. I found that these actually took longer than I thought they would. Even though they're quite small, they have a lot of colors. Each one had at least 4 colors, sometimes 5, and of course they all had the outline stitching first in black, which really makes them pop. I think they look good on the white fabric. Obviously I didn't iron this, and I haven't tried to finish it yet. At the end I added the title at the bottom. The original pattern had it at the top, but I wasn't sure if I was going to put it on or not. And now that I have it finished, I think it's kind of fun. I'm not sure what to do with it, to be honest. I may just do kind of a simple finish where I mount it on something similar to the one I just showed you. And, I was going to see if my daughter wanted it for her room, but I don't know if she does. Although she did enjoy seeing me stitch them, and, she knows all of them. And, she's a grad student, just to remind you. So she's in her 20s. She's a little bit beyond it, but she still likes the Pokemon. So next, let's see. I was going to share that, so what I've been doing stitching-wise, aside from stitching, I mentioned in my last video that I wanted to start getting a lot more involved in the local stitching groups in Northeast Ohio. Those of you that have watched previous videos, you know that I moved from Northern Virginia to Akron, Ohio last year. And Northeast Ohio has so many great stitching opportunities. It's really amazing. There are just multiple groups. There are different types of guilds. There's the big guilds, A&G and EGA. And then there's a local sampler guild, which I joined, which is called Western Reserve Sampler Guild. And there's also the local Stan Hewitt organization, which I mentioned last time. So I ended up joining 4 groups locally. Plus I'm still a member of the Outlands EGA chapter in Virginia. So in the last 4 months, I've actually been doing specific things for those different groups. And so I'll mention those as I go along. So in June, so that was Mania. And then in June, I went to Virginia for about 10 days. And part of my trip there was to attend the Outlands Retreat, which is just a chapter retreat. And it's a very nice, simple getaway. They go to a place called Graves Mountain Lodge, which is a beautiful rustic lodge. It's in the mountains, the Shenandoah Mountains in Virginia. It's a very, very peaceful, pretty place. And when we go there, there's no classes, no shopping. It's just kind of a social and relaxing stitching kind of getaway. So when I went there, I brought some smalls to work on, and I did finish some of those, so I'll share. I don't remember which ones I actually finished at the retreat or which ones later, but one of them was this little Crab is In pattern by Waxing Moon. Very cute. And this one I just did a simple mounting of it and then attached it to this wooden, I'm not sure what you'd even call this thing. It's a box with a slot. It's sort of like an old matchbox. This was an old wooden piece that I picked up at an estate sale a little more than a year ago in the summer. So I think it looks pretty good in there, and we do have it sitting on the desk and using it as kind of an inbox for smaller pieces of mail. There's that. And then when I was working on Mania, I sometimes would get a little tired of the Pokemon, and I had this other little kit that I had picked up, I think at a thrift store, and it's kind of interesting because it was actually a monthly mystery gift project from a shop called Blue Moon Cross Stitch. Now, I looked up this shop, and all I found was an old listing, like in Yelp or something like that. I think it was closer to Cleveland, and it has closed. I couldn't find any other shop history, but apparently it was a shop, and they did these monthly projects. And so this was a set of 4 seasonal magnets, and they used patterns that actually came from free designs that are published by Drawn Thread, and it came as a kit, and it had it had fabric and threads, and it was a mix of DMC and then some hand-dyed threads, and then I stitched them all, and then I did the FFOing, and I added embellishments because when I did the FFOing, I wasn't very good at getting the diamond aligned perfectly on these little squares. I don't know why, because they were diamond shaped, it really gave me a hard time. So then I ended up adding more embellishment just to draw the eye away from the straight lines around the diamond. But the embellishments did come out very cute, so I think these ended up really well. The snowman has some beads for his nose and his buttons. This was the spring one, or this was summer, I guess. This is the bee. I'm not sure which way is right way up. And this was fall, obviously. I like this one maybe the best. It has the satin stitch pumpkin in the center, and I love the colors on that one. So that was just a fun little project, set of 4 seasonal magnets. There were 2 others that I worked on at the Graves Mountain Retreat, and one of them was this Just Nan Rosebud Tweet, the little bird, and it comes with the little metal tail feather and the felt for his beak and the little rosebud. It does not come with a stand, so I just have him sitting he's been sitting in a milk glass dish in my one of my cupboards downstairs. Very cute. And the last small from that getaway was Little Lady Liberty by Little House Needleworks. And so these are just small charts that I've had in my stash for a while, and I've been really wanting to finish some of the things that I already have in my stash recently. So this fabric I'm holding up, I'm going to use to back it just to make it into a little pillow. so lots of smalls there. I'm also going to share with you, I think in my last video I showed two of my larger pieces that I finished when I was traveling last spring. We traveled from from mid-February to mid-April last year, 9 weeks, pretty much driving place to place, and I had worked on these two larger pieces. This first one was a Kathy Barrick, Good Intentions, and I'm just going to show it again today because I did frame it. I did the lacing and the framing myself, and then I took it to Hobby Lobby to have them put the wire and the paper on it. And I mentioned this to someone else online recently that it's actually a really good deal at Hobby Lobby. If you do your own framing and then just have them put the wire on it, they only charge like $2.50 to do the wire and the paper, and they do it generally while you wait, so it's very quick. And this frame was very lucky. Both this piece and the next piece I'm going to show you, I actually had the frames already in my stash because I'm in the habit when I go to thrift stores, I look for frames that I think will be good for needlework, even if I don't have a specific piece in mind yet. And I especially tend to pick up the square frames because I do like square finishes. And this one, I already had it and it was just the right size. I mean, it could have been maybe just a tiny bit larger to let a little bit of the border show, but I think it works. So it was, it was a good economical way to get that one framed. And the same was true for this one. So this was my Vintage Stars project. It's a Jeanette Douglas chart. And can you believe I actually had this frame? And it was not only the perfect size, but the perfect color too. It really matched this this blue, kind of teal blue here. And, it was, kind of an informal frame, which is the way I like it. And so this one I laced it myself and framed it. And then again, took it to Hobby Lobby and I had them put the wire on it. And this piece has been getting a lot of love actually. So in July, I decided to enter the Summit County Fair and put some needlework in, which is something I've been wanting to do for years. I meant to do it in Virginia at my local county fair, but just never got around to it because, with the fairs, you have to plan ahead. You have to have your stuff ready. You generally have to drop off on a specific day and then be able to pick up, another specific day. And, sometimes it might hit when you're out of town, so it can be a little tricky. But this year it worked out. So I put this piece in the fair and I put several other pieces in, and I got a lot of ribbons because unfortunately there's not enough competition. And I think these were pretty nicely done, but I know there are a lot of very talented needleworkers in the area that just don't enter their pieces in the local fairs. Some folks have said they just have concerns about cleanliness or safety. Generally these county fairs, the displays might be in sort of an open barn-like building with no air conditioning, so there is definitely a little bit of exposure to dust and moisture. And but I was willing to take a chance. Something like this that's been framed and sealed is not gonna be easily affected by moisture or dust. I did enter some pieces that were not sealed. They're pieces that you've seen before, except for one, which I have here to show. And this, you've seen the finished stitch, but you didn't see the actual finish. So this is my Tom the Turkey that was from Not Forgotten Farm. And so this is kind of a, Priscilla and Chelsea inspired finish it's on this old metal tray. And both this tray and that wooden box that the crab is on, these were both from the same estate sale. This was a kind of a semi-rural home not too far from me in Northeast Ohio, and this guy had just accumulated an enormous stash of wood and metal objects, and so there was this huge estate sale, and I was able to pick up not just these, but several other pieces, some wooden bowls and some other pieces that I just have stashed in the basement for future use. So it fit pretty well. It's on with a magnet. It's mounted on foam core, and then I got the pick at Hobby Lobby, and I did actually glue the pick down to the tray. All right, so that was the focus in July, and then let's see. Let's talk about some of the other guilds. I've got some whips, which are guild projects that I will show you. One of the groups I joined two different EGA chapters locally. So what I did is become a plural member of EGA. So that allowed me to pick one chapter as my primary, and the one I picked is, it meets in a town called Medina, which is about a 20-25 minute drive from here west of Akron. and that's a very small chapter. But I thought they would be a good group. They meet during the week, during the day, which I like that schedule. And they were working on this project, which I think I did show once before. It's called Tree of Stitches, and it's meant to be a project that teaches you a lot of different embroidery stitches that you can do in addition to our beloved cross stitch. And you can see I've filled in a lot more sections. I'm working on this stitch down here, but I've been adding in all these different sections. Each time I pick one of my hand-dyed flosses, which are all fall colors. And I've been slowly building the tree. So I've got maybe 4 or 5 more stitch sections to go. And then there's actually there's a little owl who kind of hides in the middle of the tree, and there'll be a little, I think it's a bunny that's down here. And I haven't decided how I'm going to do those just yet. But here's the picture of the pattern, and it's by Bees Needleworks. And it was I ordered it as a PDF online. So that's what I've been doing with the Medina chapter. So they're actually my primary chapter. After I joined them, I was debating whether to join another chapter, which is actually closer to me. It's a group called Town and Country, and they meet in the town of Stowe, which is just north of Akron. And initially I thought I wasn't going to prefer that group because they told me up front they don't really do any projects or programs during the meetings. They just tend to everybody's already working on their own things and not wanting to start a lot of new things. So they weren't committed to teaching programs, which seemed a little odd for EGA. But then I decided to go and, attend a couple meetings just kind of as a guest, just to see. And they were just extremely friendly and actually a very active, involved group of ladies. Even though they don't do a lot of programs in the meetings, they're actually very engaged in the needlework community. A lot of them are also in the Stan Hewitt chapter or guild, and they do things like outreach days, and they attend seminar. So they are very active. They're just not doing the small programs in the meetings. But then this year they actually decided to go ahead and do one small program, and it's actually a project that was in the Needle Arts. This is the EGA's publication. It's in the March issue of Needle Arts, and it's called a Queen Stitch Pincushion. And coincidentally, this project was actually designed by somebody in the Outlands chapter in Virginia. So I know the person who designed this, and I know the person who was the president who made it a challenge. I think the challenge was to do something that incorporated a needle minder. And the person who designed this, her name is Bev Steinhagen. She loves Queen Stitch, so she put her needle minder in the middle, and then she created this, sort of simple geometric design, but it's all Queen Stitch, so that makes it somewhat difficult. And then she entered this in the Woodlawn show one year, and she won a prize with this. So we decided to do this Queen Stitch project, and I've not gotten very far in it. I haven't been giving it any time recently, but this is my start. The middle is actually Smyrna's, and then this is my first set of Queen Stitches that I've been working on. So I do need to spend more time on that one. So that's what I'm doing with the Town and Country chapter. And, I thought I would take a little time in this video to talk about these chapters, because I've noticed that another channel, I think they were the Country Stitchers, Deb and, I can't remember the other person's name. They've been doing a very nice feature on different guilds and inviting people to submit specific guilds and then share information about them. And I do think it's good to raise awareness of the guilds within the needlework, the Flosstube community, since a lot of people who are cross stitchers don't look into joining these guilds, and it might be, you might feel like, well, it's, if I only want to do cross stitch, why would I join this guild? But it is a good opportunity just to meet people, have a kind of a social group, and to learn other opportunities in needlework. By taking some of the classes, you might branch out and do other types of counted thread work, or get into doing canvas work or other projects. I'm also doing this large project called Ambrosia Honey, and I've shared that a couple times on past videos. It's a big canvas piece that has a lot of yellow and gold in it with a bee in the center, and that's one of my harder projects that I made a goal that I was going to finish these hard projects this year, and I've made no progress at all on my hard projects in the last 3 months. I haven't even picked it up. I had run out of beads, and I got the beads replaced, and I haven't picked it up since then, but I will in the future. So still got that going on with EGA. Let's see. So next. I'm not going to show a lot of haul, but I have, some of the shopping I have done recently has been secondhand things, and I got this one piece. It was kind of a fun find. So I know there's a lot more awareness of stitching in Ohio recently with the big StitchCon retreat that happens down near Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is about, I think, 4 hours from Northeast Ohio, so I have not actually gotten down there yet to visit the Keepsakes. But I heard that Keepsakes is actually on the Tour to Stitch this year. And I did last year for October. I was still in the process of moving to Ohio, but I came and I spent a couple weeks here in October, and I did the Tour to Stitch, which is basically a shop hop. It's a week-long period where you buy a passport, and it gives you a list of shops that are participating, and then you drive from shop to shop, and the shops might have specials or treats or special things going on, and you visit the shops, and obviously you buy things and just enjoy all the great nice things to look at, and buy some linen charts and stuff. And so that Tour to Stitch has been going on for some number of years, and so I found this was actually a member of the Western Reserve Sampler Guild who moved recently, was destashing a lot of things. So there were piles of stuff that she was just giving away, and so I picked up this tote bag, and I thought it was fun since this is from an earlier Tour to Stitch. And what's interesting is there were 7 shops on here, and sadly I think only 2 of these shops still exist, right? So that's kind of the sad thing, is there have been a number of Ohio shops that have closed. However, the tour is still going because there have been new shops opening or new shops joining. So I think there's probably still a good number of shops, maybe even more than there was this year, shops that are participating. And they don't always do a tote bag. I don't know if it was just one year they did this, but anyway, I picked this up and I started using it as my bag that I take to meetings now. Let's see. Okay, so Western Reserve. Okay, so I'll share something else about my Jeanette Douglas. I showed you my vintage stars. I actually got to meet Jeanette Douglas yesterday. So Western Reserve brought Jeanette Douglas down to do 2 days of classes, and I signed up for the half-day class, which was yesterday. And we are making this beautiful flower tray set. It's 3 pieces. It'll be this little tray, and then there's a drum there's a pin keep, and there's a little scissor fob. So they're all done on this. So picture this plus linen. And this was my start yesterday in class, just doing the embroidery for the tray. So all three pieces will get stitched on here, and you can see in the picture that there's different types of stitches. There's some Bargello and some satin stitching, and this would be very pretty. So that was kind of exciting to meet her, and she was very friendly and fun to take a class with, and she was excited when I posted after the Summit County Fair. I posted the pieces I entered in the ribbons, including this one. And I had tagged her on my post, and she was so kind and left me a very nice compliment because she liked seeing it done over one thread. And so I had replied to her, and then when I met her yesterday, I mentioned to her, by the way, I had posted my picture of your design, and that you left me such a nice comment. And she was actually excited. She remembered, and she's like, yeah, I took screenshots of that. And I said, well, I brought it. So she was actually really pleased to see it in person, and she passed it around the class a little bit. And apparently on the first day of class, someone else had stitched the same thing, probably over 2 threads, and it would have been fun to see them side by side, but that person wasn't there yesterday, so we didn't get to do that. So that was a fun, kind of fun thing. The next thing I'm going to show you is a stack of smalls. Oh, actually I had one more summer project. One more summer project that I did. This was just, I was wanting to do something patriotic, and I had this, this was actually from a magazine. I've been sorting through some of my older magazines, and I donated some, and then, but this one, I found this pattern as I was looking through, and I decided I wanted to do it. So it was designed by Polly Carbonari, whom I've not heard of. But I stitched it pretty quickly on just random linen, and then I had this old trivet, and this may have come again from that same estate sale. I just cleaned it up and I popped the tile out. I found that by laying it on a towel and then using a hammer and hitting the tile on the corners, I could actually get the tile out without breaking it. So then I donated the tile, or gave it to somebody, I can't remember. But this came out pretty nice. It's a sweet little patriotic finish, and so I'm actually giving this to my brother. So that was summer stitching. And then recently we took a road trip, again, not as big as the one we took last spring, but this one we drove to the northernmost part of Michigan. Northern Michigan is spectacular. I decided that Michigan is just a well-kept secret. It's such a beautiful place to visit if you like to be near water and see maritime history, including lighthouses and information about shipwrecks and so forth. It's a really great place to visit. There's wonderful beaches and bike trails, and we had the best time. We did a lot of hiking, and we brought our bikes with us, and did a lot of cycling too. So another thing that's been keeping me busy recently is my husband is he's running the Akron Marathon, which is happening September 28th. So he's been in training for the last 4 months, basically. And when he started doing his long runs, when he, getting up to 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles, I generally will go with him when he's doing his long runs. So there are a lot of trails near us in Northeast Ohio and also in Michigan. So we would plan out a route, drive to a trailhead, and while he would run, I always bring my bike. So I've been doing a tremendous amount of cycling this summer, which has been really fun. I used to do a lot of cycling back in my, when I was in my early to mid-20s. And then I've always been riding a little bit. I'd gotten out of it somewhat just from, being too busy or not being in as good of condition. But this summer I've been doing it a lot, and, I've been definitely getting stronger and feeling good on the bike. So that's been a really good thing this year, and going to keep that going for at least, while the weather holds through October, and then I'll have to find something, more indoor to do. But anyway, so on this last trip, we traveled for 3 weeks and a couple days, and we drove, I don't know the mileage, but the longest distance, Akron to the northernmost point that we visited, would have been about over 11 hours. So it was pretty substantial driving. And for that trip, I packed up about 6 or 7 Halloween smalls, and I did finish most of them. I haven't FFO'd any of them, but I'll quickly show some of these as well. So we had this one, Happy Jack Jack Day by the Trilogy. Very cute pattern. And that one, it used the recommended colors, except I switched the orange because I didn't have the sweet potato, so I switched it to something else, and I don't remember offhand which one I ended up using. I'm sure I could look it up here. I used persimmon instead, so the brighter orange one is persimmon. That was the first one. I'm going to crinkle a little bit as I pull these, so hope you won't mind that. Some of them were from Just Cross Stitch magazine. And this one was by Glory Bee, and this is the full pattern. October 31st. I just wanted to do the top part, so I stitched only the October 31, the key, and the pumpkins. And the next one I really like. This is only 2 colors, and it was also from Just Cross Stitch magazine. This one was Eileen Gurak of Hand Blessings. And it's a simple, her original was all done in one color. It was kind of a purple color, and it was on orange. I wanted to use this little scrap of blue fabric that I had, so I switched it to black, and then a pale, kind of a yellowy beige. It's actually beige by Weeks Dye Works is what I used for the moon, and I did it just it's half cross stitch, so it made it even more kind of transparent looking. That one, and then a few more. I did a Lizzie Kate. This one's a Thanksgiving one. It's the Lizzie Kate Flip It called Thank. And I did finish this one, and I put I had the little leaf embellishment. This chart was a gift from someone I know from Outlands. And actually the first one I did on that car trip was this little red-winged blackbird. And this is a Bent Creek chart. And this one I decided to leave off was it there's a big star. I left the star off, just the bird and the twig. And I have two more. One that I didn't actually finish. This one is from Just Cross Stitch, and I'm not taking the time to say which issue, but if you're watching and you want to know which issue it's from, just leave me a comment and I can tell you. This one I only have a picture of the chart, so I'm not going to hold up. And this one was by Meg Puente of Lindsay Lane Designs, and it's a little, you'll see, it says Boo. And I did change the colors, but since I don't have the chart, the color picture, I'm not sure what the original was, but I changed it up quite a bit. So that is, you know, on camera this is looking kind of red. It's really a more true orange in person. So those are all the small ones I finished. Those were, I had picked out just, you know, simple projects that I could do in the car while my husband was driving. And the last one that I'm still working on is this little piece, the Dead Zone, and I have part of the picture from the magazine. And this one I'm changing a fair amount because I'm doing it on purple fabric, and my fabric's not big enough, so I'm leaving off the border and the top, some of the colors that were at the top, the purples. And I'm going to be kind of shrinking it down a little bit too to make it fit on this little fabric. Yeah, so that was fun to do some, you know, some Halloween and fall stitching because it is my favorite time of year. So I think that's almost it. I have a couple other whips. This one is actually a set of patterns, and I've been working on these over the last 4 months. These are the pin pillows, stoneware pin pillows by Priscilla's Pocket. And these are done with black raspberry jam from Gentle Art. And I'm using a linen. It wasn't actually the recommended linen because I think that linen was kind of greenish. So I wanted one that was more like the true color of the pottery. And I finished 4 of these so far. And I have some of this pottery. It's Williamsburg salt glaze. So it'll be nice. I'll finish these into little pillows and just fill a bowl with them, and that'll be nice to set near the pottery. Okay, and then I think I'm just going to show 2 more things. This was, and this is almost finished. I also had this kit. This is actually a name tag kit from the EGA National Seminar that took place in Alexandria, Virginia several years ago. That's the only national seminar I've been to, and that was really close to where I used to live, so I didn't have to fly anywhere. So I had picked up this kit to do Peyote Beading, which I'd never done before, and it came out pretty well. I made some mistakes on the top as I was going back and forth, but I figured it was kind of a teaching project for me, so I wasn't worried about making it perfect. But it was a lot of fun, actually. I love the fringe, and I just need to put a pin on the back of it, and then I'll be able to wear it as a name tag for guild meetings. So it'll be fun to have a second one. And the last thing I'm going to show you is this one other project that I started, which again is something that's been in my stash a long time that I've wanted to make. Someone in Outlands had made this, and I thought they were so cute because I like turtles. These are Quaker turtles with my needle, and I haven't gotten very far on these at all. I need good lighting for this because it's a fairly high count linen. Well, it says 30 count, but it seems like I think the dyeing process made it seem even smaller. So I've only got a very small start on that. But I'm looking forward to continuing that. Although now I've also got the Jeanette Douglas, the little tray to work on, and I still have 3 of my other older projects from EGA. So definitely, I've been doing a lot of stitching, as you've seen, and I'm gonna continue trying to finish off some things and probably not start any more new things for a while. So I think that's it. I guess I know I'm going pretty fast. It's over 30 minutes, and that's a lot. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some of the projects that I've had going on, and hearing a little bit more about the guilds in Ohio. And if anybody's doing the tortoise stitch, I did actually make a video about my experience last year, if you want to go back and look at my older videos. And if you do, you know, leave a comment, let me know when you do it. I hope you have a great time. I loved a lot of the shops, and I'm not going to take time to do it this year. But I'm glad to see Ohio getting, you know, more recognition, because this really is a terrific place with a very, you know, lively, engaged group of people who are doing a lot of different types of needlework. So thank you for watching, and I hope everyone is doing well. I will probably make a video again, and you know, it'll probably be at least a month or two, and that'll probably continue to be the pace. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss the next ones, please go ahead and subscribe, and have a great rest of the fall season. Okay, bye.